In this video, I'm going to be talking about king is directly ahead of his pawn. Now this position may seem intimidating. Black is so close to white. White cannot move upward to protect any square along this aisle right here to make any meaningful gains to protect his pawn to promotion. Now if black were to play, black's only motion is play side to side. He might choose this side. Because by remaining in this, at least in this rank, he's able to keep, at least in some ways, keep the white king back from moving up. White's only motion to gain any meaningful advantage of moving upwards and protecting future further squares for his pawn is to simply move to the left diagonally. If this king were to move to the left, he will move to the right. In some ways, he must move to the opposite diagonally of the black. Therefore, black is simply try to move back to the center. Because if he moves right up here, white can further move up. But if he moves right here, white cannot move right here, white cannot move right here. Neither can black. Therefore, black simply moves up right here. Now, some people might say, well, can you move your pawn up right here right now? Well, you shouldn't. Because if you move your pawn up right here, you in some way block the white. You limit white's space, and white is unable to gain any further square. So you just leave it back as far as possible so that the white's king has all the space he wants to be able to play against this black king and gain further meaningful squares up front before we start moving the pawn up. So white's king moves back to the center. Black is only option to move side to side. He moves to this side, we move to the opposite side diagonally. Black once again may try to block us in the center, but white simply can move back to the center, and black can simply choose a side, giving up a key square that allows white to move up diagonally in whichever direction to gain these further two squares. Now some people might say, well, couldn't make black move right back down? And by moving right back down, he could possibly take this pawn. Well, because we left in the first square that he was at, we can move two steps. Black can try and move down again. But if he moves down again, he can only move here. He cannot move here or here, as these two spots are being blocked by the king and the pawn himself. Therefore, black's only option is to simply move up. We can, in this way, move our king up again. In this position right here, we notice white has complete control over these three final squares right here, and most importantly, the last square upon which the pawn can promote upon. Black may try to move down again. If black tries to move down again, we can move down again. If he moves up, we can move up. He might try to move in front of us. In this position, we can move right in front of him. Now we force him again to make another move. He can move side to side. He cannot move anywhere here. Let's say he chooses this side. We move to this side. Therefore, once again, white has complete control over these three squares, and most importantly, the square for promotion. So black might try to move down. White moves his pawn up, checks him. Black's only option is to remain within these six squares right here. Try moving down. Our pawn moves up, and inevitably, our pawn will promote. And once we promote to a queen, happy checkmating. You now have the ability to checkmate black. And in this position, you're able to enter a situation which most likely could have ended in a draw, now you've made it a checkmate. So as long as you play carefully, you can make this game a win for yourself. So now once again, we come back to this position. Now instead of black moving, white moves. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a foreshadowing. This game will end in a draw, inevitably in whatever position. Now if white were to move, he has only two options. To maintain his control over the opposition, and in some ways, he can only move to the side. Because if he backs down, then black can come closer, and when black comes closer, we can potentially lose his pawn. And we don't want to lose his pawn, at least we try not to. Therefore, black's best option may simply move to the left. Because when he moves to the left, he blocks our king from moving upwards and protecting any of these future squares from allowing our pawn to promote. We may think, well, we can move our pawn up in this case. When we move up our pawn up in this case, black can simply counter it by moving right in front of it. But some of you may remember that I always told you to never move your pawn up, as it gives your king the most amount of space. But in this case, we must move our pawn up. Because if we move our king right here, black will move our king right here, we can move right here again, black will move right again, and it becomes a whole repeating game that can never end. Thus, at this point, we must move our pawn up. Now black may simply move right in front of it and counteract it. We can move right behind it and force him to move up. Now if black moves up, we can move to this side or this side, gaining this control of this square right here. Let's say we move to the left. Black's best option is to simply move right in front of white. Now, white can simply move his pawn up to check this king and to move him out of that square. Black may move right in front of it. We move right in front of him. Therefore, Black's only option is simply move up, as these two squares and these two squares are being blocked or protected by both the pawn and the king. Black kings move up. We move up to at least control this square right here for our pawn. Black may simply move right in front of our king to prevent us from moving upwards and protecting any of these future squares right here. So, we move our pawn up. Black may simply try to block us. Now, of course, if he blocks us, we move right behind our own pawn and force him to move up. Now, this position is where we start getting closer to a draw. Because if white moves up right here, Black might try to counteract him and simply move right in front of him. Right by moving right in front of him, he prevent him from moving up. We may think, well, we can move our pawn up, no problem. But then Black blocks us. Now here is the most treacherous movement that Black plays on white. If white moves right here, this game ends in a stalemate. These two spots and these two spots are being blocked by the pawn and the king, and Black has no further motion. And sadly, we should say this game ends in a draw. For white, this is a sad game. For Black, he was already in losing position, and being able to turn this game to a draw was the most consequential and beneficial spot for him.